Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. Now, in Ecclesiastes 12, I'd say right around verse 1 down to about verse really, when you look at it, it's there's two layers to this, right? On the one hand, what Solomon is doing is he's describing the evil days or the time of your old age leading up to your death, but he's using the visual of a collapsing society, right, or a society that's being basically is shutting down, okay, to describe that. So you'll see, like, I'll pull up the NLT along the way, but you'll see that there are references to, like, the keepers of the house, right, and so on, as like different parts of your body, because ultimately Solomon ends off explaining that after all this, you start to get weaker and weaker. You start to get, your eyes get dim, your shoulders, slump, your hearing starts to leave, and then eventually you die. Okay, but it is also representing the collapse of society, right? So oftentimes we use this as well, prophetically, to describe like the actual uh, losing of jobs, right, and the gradual decline of society, but also keeping in mind the context that Solomon is also referring here to the actual process of aging and then dying. So this is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 1. It says, "Remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, when the evil days come not." Right? Because, like, when you're a child and you're younger and you have the strength, you're not having to worry about aging, pain, and death, which are likened onto the evil days. "Nor the years draw nigh when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them." Okay, and also on the other hand, remembering the Lord, as early as you can, before the evil days, which can also represent the time of judgment, comes. All right, and those are going to be times, right, like somebody that is getting old and drawing near to their death. When the Lord brings judgment upon society, those years or that time that draws nigh is not going to be pleasurable to the world or to a lot of people. So let's do this. Let's do this side by side. So it says, can I move this? No. Okay. Verse 2, "While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain." So it says, remember him before the light of the sun, moon, and stars is dim to your old eyes, and rainy clouds continual, or the rain clouds continually darken your sky. Which, once again, you see how they're tying it to the aging, right? The decaying of your body. But also this is likened onto society, crumbling, right? Things that start to become more dire. The sun, the light, the moon, the stars, representing, metaphorically for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, but also representing the darkening of society, right? Because these elements give light. And as things get harder and harder, it's likened onto this gloomy atmosphere in the world. Right, verse 3 says, "In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and they that look out the windows be darkened." So the keepers of the house being, in society, right, those that keep things going, right, they have certain jobs and certain positions. they forecast, right, or they look out for the things that are happening in society. They're gonna tremble seeing the negative forecast, right? And the strong men shall bow themselves in reference to, being in agony or in pain or fear or suffering. And the grinders, which also represent those that labor. These are all different forms of labor, right? The strong men, which liken onto the, your military, right? They're also likened onto strong men. And grinders, when you go back to the ancient world, grinding was like a labor, right? You would have women grinding at the millstone or grinding at the mill. They would be actually working in that fashion, right? They would have the two millstones. They would pour the grain in between, and then they would actually labor to grind to make the flour that would then be sold and so on. So that was also labor, and that here can represent work. So when the grinders cease because they are few, it means that what? There are few jobs, there are few laborers, and those that look out the windows be darkened. And those are when you look out the windows, for example, in if you own a house and you look out the window, you're looking to see the forecast, right? You're looking you're looking to see how things are going. And that's like, in society when the projected outlook is bad, right? They'll tell you like the numbers, of jobs are going down, things are not looking good, the country's entering into a recession, like all of these things. It's a darkened outlook. But in relation here, when you read in the NLT, it says, "Remember him before your legs, the guards of your house start to tremble, and before your shoulders, the strong men stoop. Remember him before your teeth, your few remaining servants stop grinding, and before your eyes, the women looking through the windows see dimly." So basically, you start to get weak. Your shoulders are slumped. You're getting old. Your eyes are dim. Your teeth don't work anymore. Verse 4, "And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low." Right, because you're going to have, you have stores, right? So if you notice what I'm doing here is when I read in the KJV, I'm showing how this is relating to, actual societal collapse. But when you read in the NLT, you can see how it's tying more to the decaying, okay, of getting old and dying. Because that's what Solomon is doing. He's describing your old age and death using this analogous speech of a crumbling society. So the doors being shut, well, you have buildings, stores, jobs. They all have doors, but when they're shut or when they're boarded up or when they're closed down, what does that signify? That you have less and less jobs, right? And the sound of the grinding is low. In the actual ancient world, if you have fewer grinders, then you're going to have fewer laborers, right? And fewer laborers are a result of fewer labor, right? Fewer jobs to actually work. It says here, "And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low," which we're seeing that as well, right? The daughters of music, in the sense of the actual music in itself, is being brought low, but low in the sense of quality. Today, and you can look at it today, music does not sound like music. I don't even know what to call it. Like you're if you are somebody who listens to music today, you're kind of forced to be stuck in the past when it comes to music. Like when your playlist is kind of like older songs, because the newer songs just sound so bad. You can't enjoy. I mean, hey, everybody has their own preference, right? But I speak as a man, I speak for myself, right? It's older music is more enjoyable, what they call throwbacks, than like the more modern music, because it's all about like it maybe will have a catchy beat, but the actual things that are being said, there's no story, there's no good theme to it. It's just shooting somebody, murdering somebody, selling drugs, like just yeah, that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, right, in the NLT, it says, "Remember him before the doors of life's opportunity is closed and the sound of work fades. Now you rise at the first chirping of the birds, but then all their sounds will grow faint. Eventually, you're going to lose your hearing." Verse 5, "Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is nigh, and fears shall be," and also actually, I did have a precept here for verse 4. Let's go real quick. I think if you cross-reference it, it might show it. Let me take a look. Yeah. In the 2 Samuel 19 and 35, this is a cross-reference, right? Showing you how this is in reference to one that is old. So let me put this away. And what was the verse again? 35. So it says here, and Barzillai said unto the king, how long have I to live, that I should go up with the king unto Jerusalem? I am this day 80 years old. That's 80 years old. And can I discern between good and evil? Can thy servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Can I hear any more the voice of singing men and singing women? So this will be an example in the comparison of old age of the daughters of music being brought low because of the hearing, right? As he says, can I hear any more the voice of singing men and singing women? Wherefore then should thy servant be a burden unto my lord the king? So going back to Ecclesiastes 12:4, and I kind of don't like this format, so I think I'll just pull up the NLT as needed as I read through. Verse 5, it says, and let me pull this up. Okay. And also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fears shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshoppers shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, which is death, and the mourners go about the street to mourn that person. So he's using very high, rich, poetic tone to describe the old age and the death that comes with it. That's why I'm pulling it up in the NLT. Remember him before you become fearful of falling and worry about danger in the streets. Usually when you're a child, you're more bold. Children can jump. They do crazy things. They're not worried that one slight fall could throw their back out of place or break their tailbone, or they're not worried about falling, and no, they're not worried about that, right? And they're not worried about dangers in the streets. They have that that youthful strength that gives them that boldness. But the older you get, the less you have that, right? You don't have that luxury to be like the young whippersnappers. It says, before your hair turns white like an almond tree in bloom, and you drag along without energy like a dying grasshopper, and the caper berry no longer inspires sexual desire. This was used as an aphrodisiac, the caper berry. And this was when you go into the book of Kings. I think it's second Kings or First Kings. It describes how they used the ability to get an erection as a gauge also for King David's lifespan, or his life, as he was much older. And so they were able to tell that even though they brought a very beautiful woman to try and arouse him, he wasn't able to get an erection, which showed that he was basically on his way out. He was going to die at his age. So here, showing old age as well, right? The older you get, you lose that ability that comes along with it. So here it's saying the time when the caperberry no longer inspires sexual desire, right? Your libido levels are pretty much down into the negatives. Remember him before you near the grave, your everlasting home, when the mourners will weep at your funeral. So you see how the verses leading up to this are, it's displaying that rich poetic speak that is using the crumbling of society, where the body is likened to the society, and he uses the daughters of music and the keepers of the house and so on to eventually lead up to the point that he's making here, which is, remember the Lord before this time of old age comes upon you, where you're now facing death's door. Verse 6, or ever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. Now, when he lists all this, right, when it says the silver cord be loosed, the silver cord is used to tie something. And once it's loosed, or it's torn, or it tears, that's it. You either have to replace it, or that's it. You can't put it back together, right? And likewise, the golden bowl, because all these things are things that can't be undone. If the golden bowl, right, is broken, the bowl that you put things in, whether it's like to hold oil in it, right? Usually that's what it's referencing. If you look at the golden bowl. So this is the word bowl, right? It says bowl of a lamp, a bowl-shaped portion of capitals or pillars of the temple, but of a lamp. This is like what holds the oil when you have the wick inside of it. Let's see if they also show that on here. Right, it says here, a bowl reservoir, so called from its roundness, used of the bowl or oil vessel, right, of the holy candlestick. So basically, once that's broken, you can't put it back together. Okay, so these things are, he mentions these things to symbolize, like, these are things that can't be undone once it happens. You either need a new one or you got to replace it. And he's using that to symbolize life, or when you die. Just like when a silver cord is snapped, you either replace it, get a new one, or you're cooked. When you die, your life is over. You're not, you can't put back somebody's life together and then put them back to life. You can't do that. Just like when that silver cord is ripped, you can't like a string that tears. That's it. You can't mend those two back together. Or the golden bowl that is broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain. The pitcher is, like almost like a vase, almost that is used to draw water. If it's usually made of like earthenware, and if it breaks, it shatters. You can't. You have to get a new one. You can't undo that, right? It says, or the wheel broken at the cistern. This wheel is dealing with a pulley, right, or what they call a what's that? A wine glass or a wine lass. Let's put that on here. Or windlass. It looks something like let's see, windlass or pulley. So this is like what a pulley looks like, right? And I'm trying to find a good imagery. Well, yeah. So I mean, I suppose this would do. You get the message, right? It's something like that. But I want to see if I can get a image of this one. Yeah. So I guess something like this would do. So once this breaks, that's it. You have to replace it because most of them were made of wood, wooden structures. So if the wood was broken, you have to build a new one. You can't just use that old one, right? He's using these examples to show that just like when your time is up and your torch is snuffed and you die, you can't undo that. It's like a silver cord that snaps and a golden bowl that breaks and the pitcher that shatters at the fountain, or the pulley or the wheel or the wine glass that breaks at the well. You need to replace it. Just like once you die, you ain't coming back. You need a new life if you're going to come back. So verse 7, it says, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was. See, because that's what your body gets buried and it gets broken down into the earth, decomposed. And the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. So your spirit is going to go up back to the spirit world, to the Lord. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heed, and sought out, and set in order many proverbs. The preacher is Solomon. But he's saying here, he took his time, he diligently searched and researched, and came up with these proverbs and taught the people. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. The words of the wise are as golds. This is what a gold looks like. Gold. For driving cattle. It has a little sharp, pointy end. And no, it wasn't used to kill the animal, or at least that wasn't the purpose of it. But the point of a goad was to point or, poke to steer the animal in the right way. So a cattle goad is a traditional agricultural tool, typically 6 to 8 foot long wooden rod, designed to steer and drive cattle or oxen by prodding them with a sharp metal tip. So if they if they didn't want to move, you poke them a little. If they're going the wrong way, give them a little poke to keep them on the right path. So likewise, the words of the wise are like that, to keep you on the right path. You start straying to the right, you remember those words. In a situation like this, don't do that. That's like that poke. And as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. Let's take a look at this in the NLT. It says, the words of the wise are like the cattle prods, painful but helpful. Their collected sayings are like a nail-studded stick with which a shepherd drives the sheep. Okay, and also they would use that to defend against the wolves. The further, and the shepherd that is, the further and further by these, my son, be admonished. So by these words, be admonished by them and learn from them. And also of the following advice: of making many books there is no end, and much study is weariness of the flesh. So, in terms of books, it can just go on and on and on and on and on and on. And also the studying of it is weariness of the flesh. So if you study and study and study and study a lot, it's going to wear you out eventually. That's just the facts. Yeah, you're going to need to study to gain wisdom, but just be mindful of how you do it in balance. Let us hear. So after everything for all 12 chapters, what Solomon's conclusion of everything was, after mentioning the labor and the toil and the things of joy and the temporary pleasures, the vanities, all of these things, this is the conclusion. This is why he says this here, right? Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. This is what it all sums up to. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Everything else is vanity. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So whatever you do, whatever work or whatever comes forth of your hands, the Lord is going to bring up when it's time for judgment. And if it's good, cool, you get a reward. If it's bad, you get a punishment, right? With every secret thing. So whatever you may have thought nobody else saw, the Lord is going to take that into account, whether it's something good or whether it's something evil. And that brings us to the end of the book of Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.